Hello again, folks. Alright, so I wanted to take this opportunity on Clue TV to discuss with you guys the actual excavation of the remains. And the reason why I wanted to discuss that is because something tells me that Calumet County did not quite follow procedure in the excavation of the remains. Wonder why I have that feeling. Oh, that's right, page 227 from the CASO report. That's what tells me that. Folks, when I said that Calumet County was kind enough to document their fuck-ups for me, I wasn't bullshitting. They did. They documented the most epic fuck-up of all time. And that is this, the supplemental report written by Deputy Reimer. Deputy Reimer states, I did locate several suspected burnt bone fragments from the burn pit area as excavation was being done. The excavation was accomplished by the use of 2 skid steer loaders. That's right, folks, they used 2 fucking bobcats, basically mini fucking backhoes, to excavate human remains. So, kids, I want to give you sort of a breakdown of how an actual excavation is supposed to play out. Here's how this goes. Say we've got the burn pit area. This is generally what the burn pit looked like behind Stephen Avery's house. The area in question was sort of a little squarish area off to one area of the oval. And in here they say that there was a bunch of bones and a lot of bullshit and yada yada yada. Right? Okay. When we are first excavating a possible human remains, possible crime scene that could be contained in the ground, what we are looking to do is a few things. First, once you establish that this is in fact an area that needs to be checked, what you're going to do is you're going to put a stake dead center of the area in question. What you then do is you take a string that's roughly, depending on the size of the area, 3 to 5 meters long. You then take this string and you walk the perimeter of the area and you establish this as the primary scene. You then go even further outside of that and you establish this as the secondary. Right? Okay. So, once the primary and secondary areas have been established, what is then going to happen is you are going to establish what's called the corridor. The corridor is the safe zone for investigators to get in and out of the scene. This is an area that has been swept through, and it has been established that no human remains or anything of evidentiary value is in that area. That's the safe zone. Just outside of the safe zone, a fair distance away, will be established the command post. Needless to say, this is not to scale. Now, once that is accomplished, what you then do is you set up the grid. The grid is super important for many different reasons, and I will explain why in a minute. This is the grid. Now, typically the grid is then laid out like a typical chessboard. You'll have usually letters on the vertical areas and you'll have numbers on the horizontal. Now, this is for very practical purposes, folks. There are many things that could be told about the location of the bones or the location of the remains or whatever. An investigator can tell by where specific bones were found if a victim was stirred in a fire so as to accelerate the burning of the corpse, if there was animal scavenger activity, if breaking of the corpse or mutilation, severing of the limbs had occurred. These all can be told by the location of the bones. So then what happens from there is you've established your primary zone, you've established your secondary zone, you've got your command post over here. And what's going to occur from there is you use what's called the trowel and brush method. The trowel and brush is actually exactly what it sounds like. You use a trowel and you use a paintbrush to excavate the remains. Finger bone found in B1. Femur found in C4. Possible pubic bone found in A6. All of this must be meticulously documented within the course of the investigation. Now, as each piece is found in each particular area, what's going to happen at that point is each individual piece will be bagged and tagged and escorted through the corridor to the command post. At that point in time, everything must be cataloged meticulously. Now, folks, I have a theory on why this excavation was handled the way that it was handled. I firmly believe that Calumet County knew that those remains were planted. I firmly believe that Calumet County may have even had something to do with the planting. If Calumet didn't, Manitowoc most certainly fucking did. The excavation of Teresa Halbach's remains was not only handled poorly, it was grievously so. This was purposely done, as well as the medical examiner not even being allowed on site, which is illegal. This was purposely done because they knew that by excavating the bones the way that they did, no medical examiner worth their salt was going to examine the remains because the remains and their integrity had been compromised. This calls into question much. Now, folks, I will be uploading common excavation methods and the explanations thereof into the resources section of Clue TV. Thank you all very much for joining us. We'll see you soon.